Yeah. Yeah, really, really pleasing away performance against UCF. Obviously, um, there was a fairly strong message following High Point and some disappointment that we couldn't get that home win, despite some challenges we had in the first half, and a premium was placed on some defensive improvements that we really showcased in the UCF game. So we were able to do a better job of controlling the game in possession, but also out of possession. And I felt as though we caused UCF a lot of stress and really felt as though they were consistently unsettled throughout the course of the game, whether we had the ball or they did. So that was really, really pleasing and rewarding, and comes at a good time because we have a big time top 10 opponent coming to town in Georgia Southern, perhaps an unlikely name when you looked at the schedule at the start of the season. But Lee Squires, the head coach, has done a fantastic job there, and they've been trending really, really positively over the course of the last 3 years. So I'm probably a little less surprised than maybe you are to see Southern and as the number 6 team in the country. But it's a wonderful opportunity for us to get a big time RPI win, and also make some noise when it comes to our intention to defend our regular season title.
Nick, we'll start with you. First question.
Thanks for spending some time with us today, Dan. The trip to UCF, could you get a little bit more specific about the way that your defense played? Like to go the entire game without allowing a shot on goal is really impressive, but what was different compared to High Point?
The collective aggression and assertiveness. I think High Point starts extremely well with the nature of how we score the goal, but we were a little bit too passive and allowed a good possession team and a very good team as well in High Point to overwhelm us a little bit, and created a far more conservative structure than what was intended, and what we had coached and scouted in terms of what our intentions were defensively. And yeah, from a perspective of the type of team and identity that we want to have, that lacked the courage and bravery that I want us to show. We want to meet the opponent where the game is being played, and trust that we have the capacity to stifle them and stop them wherever they may be on the field. And we were just far too quick to concede territory, and allow them to gather momentum. That then we kind of struggled to get out of that rut for a period of the first half. That was disappointing. So the collective effort of how we defended, the compactness and the intent to try to build pressure and again meet the opponent where the game was being played was much, much better against UCF.
Ryan, we'll go to you.
So Dan, I guess from your defense to Georgia Southern's defense, they've only allowed 4 goals all year, only allowed one to Marshall last time out. What do they do so well, I guess, in the back end of their defense, and how are they so strong back there?
Yeah, I think that was probably the foundation of what my perception, at least, of what Lee built and has been building at Georgia Southern. They've shown in previous years that they were going to try to make sure they were difficult to break down. I think they're comfortable out of possession, comfortable if they have to drop into a low block. That's something that they don't always do, and they did show an intent to high press Marshall as well. But should the game arrive in their half, I think they feel really confident that they will defend in a structure that will make it difficult to break them down, and then possess a threat in transition, which I'm sure at some point we'll get to what those attacking threats are and the qualities that they have. But that's what I witnessed in the Marshall game, certainly, and kind of aligns with maybe my understanding of how I perceive Lee to coach his teams and build his team. So he has a confident bunch right now, and a group of players that will believe in their identity both sides of the ball, which is an incredible asset to have. It's not just about tactics; it has a lot to do with the psychology that goes into it as well. And we're going to play a team that's high on confidence and carrying a ton of momentum, which is just as difficult as of a task as it is to deal with the talent and the quality of what they have as well.
Joe, we'll go to you.
Dan, you mentioned after the High Point match that you wanted your guys to carry themselves as they were a top 10 team. How well do you think that message has been received, or is Saturday really the first opportunity to kind of see if that message was well received by your guys?
No, I think there's a sample against UCF as well. I think it's it was commented on before the game that a title contender, a team that's looking to win the conference, has to go to a place like UCF and come away with 3 points. And I don't think UCF's record is a fair reflection of the quality of program that they have and the quality of team that they have. Their outcomes so far this season, they've lost 5 games against 5 top 25 opponents. So they haven't shown that they can quite get it done just yet against the best teams, but that's also half of their schedule. So it was the type of game that's always tricky because we perceive the opponent to be better than their record. There's very little to gain from winning that game and a ton to lose from an RPI perspective when you come up against a game like that. So they're the worst games in my opinion. So the capacity to showcase that and to do it in a way, as I mentioned, where we really stifled them and stressed them, and even when they had the ball, I don't think they were ever settled. Certainly not for extended periods. I think that'll be something that we'll try to continue throughout the course of the season. And again, there's a really fantastic opportunity to develop more evidence for our players in terms of our belief and growth as what we're capable of with a positive result on Saturday night.
Nick, we'll go back to you.
Dan, these guys were a hard out for you last year in the quarterfinals. I mean, it took a Sergio goal late to win it, and you went down 2-0. Was it apparent to you at that time that Southern was a program on the rise, that maybe some are surprised that they're a top 10 team nationally, but certainly a team that could make some noise in the Sun Belt this year?
No, I think we'd already had a taste of that when we played them earlier in the regular season. I think at that point they may have been top 35 RPI. I think they were still kind of riding a wave. We seemed to go through this unfortunate process last year of beating teams that were doing particularly well, and then seemed to be the catalyst for a downturn. ODU was the same last year. I think they were top 25 when we played them, and then finished outside the top 60 maybe. And Southern's story somewhat similar. But there were indications last year that they were significantly improved last year from perhaps the year prior to that. And the year prior to that, they caused us some problems, and I think stuck around for a 0-0 here, I believe. So yeah, I think that there was already evidence that they had made significant improvements going into last season, and it looks like they've refined a little bit, added a little bit, and as I mentioned, I think the way I'm looking at things throughout the course of the top 100, top 25 is that there's as much parity right now in Division 1 men's soccer than there ever has been, and there's a lot of mid-major schools that your average collegiate sports fan wouldn't associate with success and the type of status that Southern have right now as a top 10 team. But that's the wonderful thing about what men's soccer offers is an incredible parity, and the likes of Georgia Southern, Gardner Webb, High Point, George Mason can be your 4 top 25 programs that you've played so far this season.
Dan, as a quick follow-up to that, you mentioned their ability in the attack. Ricky Lewis was on their squad last year. So was Ryan Holmes. Believe he was an all-Sun Belt candidate. Just what jumps out about the way that they're playing? Like, obviously, Lewis is scoring in bunches similar to some of your guys.
Yeah, I think Lewis is refined in a way that his physical prowess, he has more technical competency and skill this year from what I've seen, that physical prowess is even more of an issue and a challenge for us defensively. I thought last year maybe was a little raw in terms of his capacity to be a productive threat, and then he has showcased already this season that there's been improvements from that perspective. So both of them now have an end product and a quality. I think Holmes showed that probably more last year than Lewis perhaps. And then not to be undermined by Pixley off the left, who was a medical redshirt for them last year. That's added something in terms of creativity and dynamism that I think makes them a pretty prominent attacking group with obviously a back line that has shown not just this year but last year at times as well that they can be pretty challenging to break down. So they have tools, and we're going to have to be the best version of us in order to get the job done.
Cody, what about you?
Yeah, hey Dan. I was gonna ask about Ricky Lewis too. Just he scored almost half their goals. Is the defensive scout as simple as just keep track of him, don't let him get loose, or do they run things differently?
As I mentioned, I think they're more than a one-trick pony. I think I've obviously watched a lot of them this season. Even more recently in the most recent game against Marshall, he was the main threat in that game certainly. But again, we're familiar with Holmes, familiar with the challenges. I think he certainly scored against us last year in the regular season. Even Martin, who typically comes off the bench, the number 9, is a physical presence that again caused us issues in the conference tournament. So it's more than just Lewis, but I think he clearly draws a lot of the attention because immediately he jumps off the page with his physical presence, his speed, but he's shown a quality on the ball and some finishing capacity that maybe wasn't as prevalent last season that seems to have been refined and improved going into this year.
Nick, back to you.
Dan, you've continued to make some changes to the lineup, and I want to follow up on a conversation that we had earlier in the season about having so much depth that it's hard to keep everybody happy, right? Like that's something that you're dealing with this year. Are you making changes to the lineup based on matchups and things that you think you can exploit? Or is it strictly based on this is the best 11 based on what we've seen in training, and so we have to go with it?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. And that's part of the benefit of having the depth is that you have these luxuries where there are subtleties in players' profiles that maybe match up better in certain games. Maybe George Mason, for example, we felt like the left back was really, really dynamic and could be a problem and a threat going forward. And Isaac Shear was a really great solution on the right that day. In order to nullify that. And it is a little bit of kind of horses for courses in the sense that we have the capacity to adapt without feeling like it's to the detriment of the overall level. At the same time, the downside of that is, that then leads to confusion for the player that maybe then gets left out and was playing the game before and all of a sudden it's someone different. So I think it's important that we continue to remind the players that will be a dialogue that I'm more than willing to have with them. As far as how we come to our decisions, there's always a method to the madness, and I don't always expect them to agree with me either. I hopefully can articulate in a way that's still productive and positive, and that they understand that there's absolutely still value that they will add to the squad and potentially even add to that game. But then their responsibility is to navigate that as professionally as they can and effectively, prove that they are right and that I was wrong and perform in training and perform when they come on the next time to make me realize that, okay, I made a mistake and I'm okay with getting things wrong sometimes and owning up to that fact. So again, it takes a lot of mental fortitude what we're asking the players to do, because there has probably been more changes and more mix-ups on the nature of how we've created our structure or personnel than maybe ever before. And there's an opposite benefit to having a settled 11 and players getting into a routine and getting into a rhythm. So we're trying to strike a really, really delicate balance right now of maintaining a squad of players that are motivated and ready to jump on an opportunity should it come their way, without it being to the detriment of the fluency of how we play and disrupting the rhythm of what we're trying to do at the same time.
Nick, you have another question?
I sure do, Adam. Sammy has scored 2 and 5, Dan. How have you seen are you happy with his development and how have Marcus and Pablo maybe rubbed off on him? Like I can't imagine a better situation for a freshman than to learn from 2 of the best goal scorers in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, we've been so pleased with Sammy. I think he's maybe a nice word to describe him is disruptive. He probably has no business scoring the goal against UCF, but it takes someone like Sammy to run that down and to be a problem and to cause a problem. There's almost like a freshman, naive would be the wrong word, but like a freshman like freedom to him that when he comes into the game, he's gonna cause a little bit of havoc. And he's been wonderful in that regard. He has a willingness and a work ethic to press, to chase things down, to chase lost causes down, and territorially it might just lead to us winning a throw in or him winning the ball back and drawing a foul, which he did against UCF, and then ultimately, tracking one down and causing a problem for a centre back and a goalkeeper, and leads to his goal. So we're excited about where he's at right now. Super excited about his long-term future. And again, I do think it's a nice environment for him, in the sense that we have the luxury of not necessarily needing to call on him just yet, from the word go, with the quality of what we have in Marcus and Pablo. But what a wonderful position I feel like I'm in, with three forwards that have all shown they can score, and have all shown their qualities throughout the course of this season. So really, really happy with his progress, and very, very excited about the long-term future as well.
Any other questions? Anyone wants to jump in? Nick, you got another one.
Yeah, well, if you're offering, I'll take it. Dan, can you speak to Felix's versatility? He's kind of played just about everywhere for you on the flanks this year. What allows him to be effective both in attack and in defense?
Well, an openness to doing it, certainly. An open mind to kind of play in that position. I think it adds a physicality and an aerial prowess to what we have defensively, which I thought was very evident against UCF, in terms of the quality of how the four of those won their aerial duels and navigated Ngobu, the big man up front for UCF, as well as other threats that they possess. And then, still being able to feel as though we can get him into attacking areas where he can play with his identity and play to his attacking strengths, higher on the left at times. I thought I was happy with the nature of how the game developed down that side, and the problems that we were able to cause with Felix joining a little bit later, and then obviously Marcus drifting that side a little bit more than perhaps we've asked him to before. But as I've mentioned before, Marcus enjoys being the creator sometimes, and being engaged and involved in the ball, and Paolo will be happy if you just create 3 chances, even if he only touches it 5 times. So they're a nice combination together, and complement each other well. And kind of sliding Felix and maintaining Felix on that side has given us a dynamic down that side, which I think is pretty threatening.
Okay, that's probably good for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see everybody on Saturday night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dan.